Today is Sunday. It is Chav Daled Tammuz, Tavshin Ayin Gimel. We are in Sefer Mamar Atem Tavshin Yud Aleph Tavshin Yud Beis. We're just about to begin the Mamar Atem Nitzavim, the last Mamar of the year of Tavshin Yud Aleph on page Kuf Lamed Gimel. Shabbos Parshas Nitzavim Chav Ches Elul Tavshin Yud Aleph. Atem Nitzavim Ayem Kulchem Lifnei Havaya Lekechem Rashechem Shivtechem Goyim Mechet Ritzecha Atshev Memecha. You are standing steadfast today, all of you, before Hashem, your God, the heads of your tribes, etc., from your wood choppers until your water drawers. That is the first pasuk the first verse in Parshas Nitzavim. What's the connection to Rosh Hashanah? Or rather, there is a connection between this parsha and Rosh Hashanah. Hinei parsha zu kodim la'ilam b'Shabbos shelifnei Rosh Hashanah. This parsha, this Torah portion, is always read on the Shabbos that precedes Rosh Hashanah. Take it a step further. Not only is it connected to Rosh Hashanah because we always read it before Rosh Hashanah, but there's a key word in this pasuk, and the word is Hayom. Hayom. So the Rebbe goes on and says, Shezeo mashakasav atem nitzavim hayom. This is also why the meaning of the word Hayom that is written in this pasuk, in this verse. What does today mean? Which day does this refer to? The koi al yom hadin de Rosh Hashanah. This is a reference to the day of judgment of Rosh Hashanah, which is also called Hayom, because it says in another place, as we say in davening, the davening of Rosh Hashanah, Zeh Hayom Tchilas Masecha. This day is the beginning of your deeds, of Hashem's creations. Now, this is, of course, it's not the simple meaning of Hayom in Nitzavim, because when does Hayom in Nitzavim refer to? When did Moshe Rabbeinu say to the Am Yisrael, Atem Nitzavim Hayom? It was the day he passed away. Huh? Zayin Adar, wasn't it? Passed away in Zayin Adar. The whole Mishnah Torah was said. This was said when he passed away. But nevertheless, the Mekubalim, like Megala Mukis and others, there's also sources for this in the Zohar. It's also a reference to Hayom. So in other words, it's got a dual meaning. There's the simple meaning Atem Nitzavim Hayom, but because of the fact that it's always said before Rosh Hashanah, that situation of that parsha is not just by chance. The idea of Atem Nitzavim Hayom and whatever is represented in the pasuk, as we are going to learn now, is related to what? To Rosh Hashanah, which is also called Hayom. And concerning this, is there a Gemara Sanhedrin there?
Yeah.
You passed it at least.
What page?
Page 90.
Second
Probably the second volume. This is the meaning of the word Atem Nitzavim Hayom. You are standing steadfast today. Shezehu al derech masha omru razal. This is similar to what our sages say in Sanhedrin. Not there. Okay, we'll look it up.
Show business.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, yes there is. Yes there is. Nice. Let's give him.
Okay, leave it. We'll look it up tomorrow. Oh, you have to say it? Okay. Thank you. This is similar to the Ma'aber Chazal, that which our sages say in the Talmud. Our sages say as follows in Gemara Sanhedrin. Ala posik chaim kulchem hayom. There's a posik in V'aschanon, V'atem adveikim, right? We say it every day, every time we read the Torah. V'atem adveikim Hashem alekechem. You who cleave to Hashem your God, chaim kulchem hayom. You are all living today. So the Gemara says in Sanhedrin as follows, if I can find it here quickly. Tzadik Amid Beis. Here we go. Yeah? So it says like this. The heretics asked Rabbi Gamliel, how do we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu resurrects the dead? So he said to them, Min HaTorah, Min HaVim, or Min HaKsuvim. He gave them sources from the Torah, from the prophets, and from scriptures. Right? So he said to them as follows. One of the goes on and brings different psukim, and he says, Rabbi Yechon said in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Yitzadok, right? Whenever a halacha is recited in the name of someone in this world, his lips move in the grave, as it says, as is stated in the verse, stirring the lips of those who sleep in the grave. Then Gamliel goes on. Gamliel was not able to give them a convincing proof until he quoted another pasuk. It says that the land that God swore to your forefathers to give to them, we say it in Kriya Shema, in Bohem Shemaya, right towards the end. He swore to your forefathers to give to them. What does it mean to give to them? He hasn't given it to them yet. When this verse was said, we're talking about Hum Avram Yitzchak and Yaakov, right? So what does it mean? This is proof that they will be resurrected and they will inherit the land. Then he goes on and says, others say it's from this verse. It says in the pasuk, and you who cleave to Hashem your God are alive, all of you today. Obviously, all of you are alive today. Why then did Moses add the word today? Rather, it indicates that even on the day when all others of the world are dead, you who cleave to God are alive. Because God will resurrect you. Right?
What's it got to do with...
So what does it got to do with what we're learning over here?
Yeah.
So it says in the pasuk, Atem Nitzavim, you are standing steadfast today. This seems to indicate that there are others that are not standing steadfast. That despite the fact that others and the circumstances around you are such that the multitude are not standing steadfast, you are. So this is similar to the saying of our sages in the Talmud on the verse, Chaim kul chamayim, you are all alive today, which I just quoted. Even on the day when the whole world is dead, meaning to say, when it comes time for the resurrection, Atam Chaim, you will be alive, you will be resurrected. Similarly, on the day of judgment, Hayom, Atem Nitzavim, you are standing steadfast. In other words, the day is such where there could be interference with standing steadfast, and you are standing steadfast. How does that come about? In order for there to be, that all of you should be standing steadfast, notwithstanding the difficulty to do so on that day, there needs to be, as the verse continues, kulchem. There's a condition. It has to be kulchem, all of you. What does it mean, all of you? That's what the pasuk says. Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem, right? You are standing steadfast today, all of you. Meaning to say that the standing steadfast today is dependent on kulchem, all of you. Meaning to say, she'iyu kol Yisrael biskalus vis achdus, that all Jews should be included as one and united as one. that the differences of details between Jews, the differences between Jews should not be obvious. Ella, but rather, Kayma achas shlema, one complete structure. The Oz, and if this condition prevails, if there is unity, and all Jews are as one complete structure, and the differences are not obvious, then Hine Atem Nitzavim, then you will be standing steadfast today, even at a time when everybody else dies, you will be alive. Klar?
Yeah.
We need to understand, if this is the case, we need to understand what it says, what it continues. The verse continues and says, the heads of your tribes, etc., until your water carriers. So what happens? After the pasuk says, Kulchem, all of you, which brings about Atem Nitzavim Hayom, standing steadfast today, notwithstanding everything else, right? The pasuk continues to enumerate and spell out all the 10 different categories of the Jewish people. So why does the pasuk continue to spell out and to enumerate all the different segments and types of Jewish people? I'm sorry. We need to understand what it says after this. The heads of your tribes, etc., until your water carriers, and in between these this is the first one. Is the first type, and Sheiv Memecha is the last type. In the middle, you have another 8 types. The Lechura, it would seem that this doesn't make any sense. Why? Since the pasuk has already said what? Atem Nitzavim Hayom, Kulchem, all of you. In which what is already included? All the different types of Jews. Why does the pasuk, the verse, find it necessary to enumerate all the 10 types of Jews independently? Sorry?
That means even those people.
Oh. And especially, as we just explained, especially since we just said that Kulchem, the prevailing condition, in order for this Nitzavim Hayom to be, is that it should be all of you together as one complete unit, and the separate details and the separate fragmented levels of Jews should not be felt, should not be visible, should not be obvious. Not only is it unnecessary to enumerate them because he said Kulchem, which includes everybody, but it would seem to enumerate the separate details is contradictory to the condition that is necessary for Nitzavim. Zogst doch gut. Says the Rebbe, perhaps we could say that with enumerating all these separate details of Jews, these types of Jews, it's not the intention of the verse that to highlight each type separately. No, perhaps it means maybe it's just a definition of what? Of the word Kulchem. The pasuk says Kulchem. What do I mean Kulchem? What do I mean to say Kulchem? I mean to say the following. That all of these, this is the definition of what? Of the word Kulchem. The Rebbe says we can't say that this is the case. This is the meaning. Why? If that's the case, the verse should have stated, who is included in the Kulchem? Everybody. From the heads of your tribes until your water carriers. Without what? Enumerating actually all the types. Just say the top one, or the beginning, and the end. And everything, and we would understand that it means everything in between. Right? Which is really also unnecessary because you already say Kulchem. Okay, but perhaps this is the pasuk. This is what the pasuk means. So the Rebbe says no. If this is what the pasuk meant, then the pasuk should just enumerate the first and the last, and then it would mean all of these are included. Since the Torah enumerates all the 10 levels, all the 10 types of Jews independently, move on. It's understood that it's the intention of the pasuk not only to explain the word Kulchem, that it means all these 10, the pasuk actually means to specify the different details and aspects of each and every type of Jew, as each and every type of Jew is on its own, independently on its own. Which seems to be contradictory to what? To Kulchem. what's the bottom line? Since the pasuk does say, on the one hand, kulchem, all of you together, and at the same time, the pasuk goes on and enumerates each independent level individually. Moving from this is understood that in our serving Hashem and Rosh Hashanah, in the way we serve Hashem and Rosh Hashanah, yeshnam beizu inyanim. There are both of these ideas. Both the idea of the unity of the tzibur, of the public, of the Jews, in the form of one complete structure, without details, without highlighting, but not only without, but specifically not highlighting the details, but everybody is one. And on the other hand, the division into details, each and every Jew individually. And this is what we have to understand, how on Rosh Hashanah we have these two nekudas, on the one hand, these 2 points, on the one hand, unity of the Jewish people as a whole, and on the other hand, every type of Jew and every Jew individually. What's the pshat? So with this, the Rebbe goes on top of page Kuf Lamed Daled into a very deep and beautiful explanation. And before we go into that, I just want to give a short introduction. You are all aware and know of the concept of Eidos and Kelim. Hashem created the world with a Seder Ishtalshalos, with the order of descent. That's the operating system of existence as we know it. That's the way the Eibishter created it. For some reason, Mitzad Hasibah, which is known only to the Creator, this is the system he chose. This Seder Ishtalshalos, one of the dominant features of the Seder Ishtalshalos, is the 10 spheres, the 10 divine attributes and emanations through which Hashem communicates with existence, through which Hashem creates, through which Hashem sustains, and so on and so forth. These spheres, each of these divine attributes is made up of an Eir and a Keli, a divine light or divine energy and force, a giving force, a creating force, which is the Eir, and a Keli, a withholding force, a receptacle, a vessel, which withholds, regulates, channels this giving energy, otherwise known as Havaya and Elikim. There's a pasuk in Tehillim, Ki shemesh u'mogen Havaya Elikim. That Havaya and Elikim, Yudke Vavke and Elikim, are like the sun and the sun's nartek, the sun's shield, right? So you have the as we just Sharich Zemuna in the Shiurim of the previous days and weeks, that what? That the Mahava, when you say Yudke Vavke, that's the force to create, the force to give. That's the Eir, that's Yudke Vavke. Then you have Elikim, which is the withholding, the regulator, the Tzimtzum, the one that shrinks down, contracts, and withholds and regulates and allows that Eir to be revealed down here. The Rebbe is going to now discuss this idea of Eidos and Kelim. Now, if you remember, in fact, these two from the Shiur Mashari, these two forces are inherently opposing forces. They're opposing forces. One is a giver, and one is a withholder. Somehow or another, they coexist, and not only do they coexist, they operate as one in the most beautiful way. So what's happening here? Is one force fighting the other force that overpowers the other force? Or do they operate in unison, calmly, tranquilly, to allow existence to continue and for the Hashpah, God's emanation, to come down into this world? This is what the Rebbe is going to discuss over here in a whole series of different madregas, culminating in the idea of Atem Nitzavim Hayom. Okay? So the Rebbe goes like this. Let's start this.
We just been through it all in
But listen. Yeah, it's got connections to that,
yeah.
Which will make it a little easier to understand. But the Rebbe focuses on Shari Yichud the Alter Rebbe just says that we don't know. He says like this. Usually, if you have Tzimtzum, right? What does the Alter Rebbe say? That just like the Chesed aspect of Hashem's Sphira, giving, we can't understand. We also can't understand the Tzimtzum. But over here, the Rebbe goes into quite an analysis of how the operating system works, how this works. So let's fasten your seatbelt and let's go on this journey. Chapter 2, Kuf Lamed Aleph at the top. In order to understand this, that on the one hand you need Nitzavim Kulchem, all of you. And on the other hand, the focus on each and every individual detail, an aspect of the Jew. How does this work together? To understand this, you first have to preface the Hinni Yedu, it's known, the Iker Avedus Adam Hu, Lahamshich Ha'eris Bekelim. The main point of a person serving Hashem is to draw down the divine lights into Kelim. In other words, when a Jew does Torah and Mitzvahs, what does he do? He causes the hashpah, the flow, the manifestation of divine energies into the vessels, and in turn that brings about what? Hashpah into the world. Why? Why do we say that the main point of Avodas Adam, a man's service of God, is to draw down lights into the divine lights into the vessels? Because the ultimate intended purpose in creation is to make this world into a dwelling place for Hashem. The preparation for this is through clothing the lights into the vessels. Why? Because by the lights being drawn down into the vessels, there is, first of all, the world exists, right? And not only that, we bring in additional Ein Sof into the world, God's infinite light into this world, and ultimately we arrive at Dira B'Tachtenim, the very essence of Hashem coming down into this world. So now the Rebbe goes on and explains what's the idea of Eiris and Kelim. The lights, the divine energies, the giving force, which is the idea of revelation, giving and revelation, their nature is that they are constantly in the mode of going up to their source. They're also in a mode of obvious cleaving to their source. If you remember in one of the previous Mamorim, we were learning very extensively about Rotzu and Shoiv. So we touched upon these similar ideas as well. The Rebbe was talking about the fact, how is it that the energy, the Hashem's energy, comes down into this world? because the nature of the Hashem's energy is, since it's light, it constantly feels its source. It's constantly in a mode of obvious cleaving to its source, and because it feels the greatness of its source, where it comes from, it constantly wants to go back up. Right? It wants to expire. It wants to go up to its source. V'hakelim, vessels, sheboim al de hefsik, that come through an interruption, chulu, etc. Hem b'bchinas helam. They are in a mode of concealment. Or b'bchinas dvekus bilti nikeres, and they are in the mode of an inobvious, a non-obvious cleaving to their source. In other words, as mentioned before, the Eid and the Kli, the giving force and the withholding force, are both godly forces. They're both godly energies. One comes about from Hashem in a non-interrupted way. So, let's go back to the original. At what point do these two forces of giving and withholding become separated? At the point of tzimtzum, the point of the first contraction. Before that, Ein Sof was Memala Kol Makom Acholol. It was all as one, right? God's infinite light. Then Hashem caused a tzimtzum. He contracted the Ein Sof to the sides. What does that mean? And what remained was a void and an empty space. That's the metaphor that's used. What does that mean? This was the point where the Koyach HaGvul, the power to withhold, has been brought out as a separate, independent Koyach. That's the idea of this empty space, right? Then what did Hashem do? In this empty space, He drew down a kav, a line of Ein Sof, of godliness, back through this so-called empty space, this koyach hagvul, this tzimtzum, this contraction. So what happens over here? The kav, which is the giving force, has never detached from its source. It's got pushed away from where? From the koyach hagvul. But so far as its source is concerned, it's always cleaving to its source. It's always connected to its source. Whereas when we say the koyach hagvul, the tzimtzum, right? The contraction, there's a void, so to speak, right? So even though this is a manifestation, the koyach hagvul, the tzimtzum, is a manifestation of God's power to withhold, but the way it comes into being is through an interruption. The Ein Sof is moved aside, and what comes out is what? The koyach hagvul, the power to withhold. Therefore, when after the tzimtzum, when Eir and Keli come into being, the Koyach HaBlikvul and the Koyach HaGvul come into being, the Koyach HaBlikvul, the Eir, the light, let's call it Eiris and Keli, the light is in a mode where it cleaves, obviously cleaves to its source, constantly feels its source, and therefore wants to expire and go back to its source. Whereas the Koyach HaGvul, the power to withhold, the Keli, because it comes into being through, so to speak, an interruption of God's divine energy, even though it is a manifestation of God's divine energy, but it comes into being in a way of interruption, and therefore it doesn't feel its source. So therefore, once they're manifest, they're opposites. This is a power that wants to expire, wants to go back to its source, and this is a power that doesn't feel its source. This is what the Rebbe is saying here. So Eir is b'bchinas gilui, in a mode of revelation, is constantly in a mode of aliyah limkedem, going up to its source, or b'bchinas dveikus nikeres limkedem, and is in a mode of obvious cleaving to its source. The kelim and the vessels shabayim al hefsek chulu, the kelim, the vessels which come into being through an interruption, hem b'bchinas helam. They're in a mode of concealment, the opposite of Keli. Keli is in a mode of revelation. Eir is in a mode of revelation. Keli is in a mode of concealment. And it's also opposite of Kelim in the sense of Eiris, the opposite, in an opposite mode of the lights, the energies, because the lights and energies are in a mode of obvious cleaving to the source. And Kelim are bebchinas dveikus built in ikeres. They are in a mode of non-obvious cleaving to the source. What's the bottom line? If that's the case, then Eir and Kli, the light and the vessel, are opposite from one another. So what's the question? So the question begs, how is it possible for these two to combine together? If they are opposites, how can they combine? Omnom, says the Rebbe, however, since the light, the divine energy, the giving force, feels the special, unique quality that the vessel possesses, which the Eir doesn't possess, right? Which quality is that? Sorry?
Which quality?
Hang on, we'll get to that. The Rebbe first gives the highlight. And through the fact that the light, the Eir, feels the special, unique quality possessed in the Kli, through this it affects also the Kli, the vessel, that the Kli itself should feel its quality. In other words, the Keli on its own, the vessel on its own, the withholding force on its own, does not feel its special quality. It needs the Eir, the catalyst of the Eir, of the divine giving energy, to say, hey, you have a unique quality. So it causes, not only does the Eir, does the light feel, divine energy, the giving force feel the special quality of the Kli, but through communicating with the Kli, through interacting with the vessel, with the withholding energy, it ignites, right? It's like almost like a chemical reaction, where you need something else to come in to trigger something within the other chemical to react. So the Eir coming into the Kli causes the Kli to react in a way that it feels all of a sudden its unique quality. So because of this, because of this, it is possible for the Eiris and the Kelim, the divine energy, the giving energy, and the divine withholding energy, to combine together, to unite as one, to fuse together as one. What is this unique quality that the Kli possesses, that the vessel possesses? Should we carry on another couple of lines, or should we pause here until tomorrow? Huh? This is not a point we can say bekitzer. This is quite intricate. So we'll have to leave it tomorrow morning.